Hi, welcome to Messier Mantra. I'm your host, Mike Messier. On this episode, we have a very good personal friend of mine. He's a professional singer, he's an actor, and he's just a great guy. His name is Bobby DiCicco. Bobby, did I say
Michael,
it right?
you did. I'm impressed.
Bobby.
But you got my last name correct.
It's an Italian name, right?
Yeah.
Are you 100% Italian?
Well, I don't have purple feet.
I didn't know that was a qualification.
That's true.
Is it?
Well, actually, my grandparents, they came. My grandparents, my mother's side, he came from Abruzzo, that's part of Sicily, and my mother's side came out of Avellino, which is north of Rome. So. And the rest, as they say, is history. So I'm about a third generation Italian American.
That's great.
Yeah, it works.
I'm not Italian, but I eat Italian food, and I've always gotten
Messiano.
Yeah, right.
Mike Messiano.
I've always gotten along pretty well with my Italian friends in Rhode Island, especially. And but it was family dinners and culture and
oh yeah. My parents moved to the North End when I was about 11 years old, a long time ago. And it was like a movie. It was like a Martin Scorsese film. Hey, Joanne, how you doing? Hey. And every summer the feasts would be there, and they would come down with these big, like a display of you put money onto this big thing of the picture of the Saint Anthony.
Wow.
And my mother we lived 4 stories up in this little apartment up in Cooper Street in the North End. And as my mother was pinning the dollar bills, you hear the band going da-da-da, ba-da-ba, 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 ba-ba-ba. And I said, my God, I got to hate that tune.
Right.
But that's what they used to do during the summers. It was like a feast almost every other week.
Was that called St. Anthony's Feast?
That was the big one. That was the last one they had. And but then they had St. Agrippina, they had St. Lucy, they had God knows, you know. And but now it's changed. I mean, everything has changed. It's a lot. They used to have a 7-day St. Anthony's feast.
Right.
Not anymore.
7 days. Wow.
Yeah, it's like now 3 or 4 days, and that's it.
Yeah.
But that's the end of the summer, which they're going to be probably having now, I think. I don't know when, but that's the dates in August.
I mentioned that you're a singer.
Yeah.
And was your heritage, your family background, was singing part of the family thing, or is that something that came from you in other elements of life?
My dad was a Seabee in the Navy. Okay. And he used to play accordion on the ship.
Right.
And he had the best job in the world. He was a cook. And he said, we always get the best chow before anybody else.
Yeah.
And my mother, I think she liked to sing. I wasn't sure, how much of that she did, but she did have a good little voice that she had. And my dad did too. So my dad entertained for his Navy buddies back then. But he never parlayed that when he got back stateside. He just never really took that up. I said, Dad, why didn't you? He says, nah, I just didn't want to do it. And I says, okay, but I don't know what else in my family, Mike, would have that. I'm sure there are some old types in my group that may have that talent, but we just haven't dug up that family tree. Maybe just leaving it alone is the best thing to do. I don't know.
I want to ask our production crew, Cody Piaxoto and Kevin Vendina, to maybe play a little sampling of your music.
Sure.
So when they get a chance,
by all means,
push that button and we'll check out some of your musical work.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah. Because I've seen you perform. Here we go.
They say that falling in love is wonderful. It's wonderful. So they say. And with the moon up above, it's wonderful. I heard it's wonderful. Oh, so they tell me. I can't recall who said it. I know I never read it. I only know that they tell me that love is grand. The thing that's known as romance is wonderful, wonderful in every way, so they say. without any warning. You're stopping people and shouting that love is grand. To hold a girl in your arms is wonderful, wonderful in every way. So they say. Thank you. I love that song. Thanks, guys.
All right, we're back here with Bobby DiCicco.
That's
Bobby,
funny.
who were you performing with?
I was very lucky to get those people. That was Cindy Gale.
Okay.
Wonderful singer. She's with the Winnaker band.
Yeah.
Well, she's played for them for years. Tom Lamarck on piano, one of the most noted accompanists in the city of Boston. And Todd Baker on bass. He's a well-rounded jazz bassist. In fact, they're going to be part of my upcoming show, September 11th.
Where will that be?
Club Cafe in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah, this all came about. There's a guy named John O'Neill, and he runs these things called First Mondays. And he said, Bob, I have a date for you if you want it. You can do September 11th. I said, John, you know it's 9/11.
Yeah, right.
He said, well, it's a date they can't forget. And I says, obviously. He said, you can change the date. And I said, well, let me stick with that. So I thought about this project. And because I'm such a lover of the American songbook,
Yes.
and jazz standard of that era, I said, let me do something to commemorate the soldiers of World War II.
Okay.
And maybe sending off love letters to their loved ones and then them getting it back. So I called it Love Letters from the Front. And it's going to be produced. I'm going through it now. I got the wonderful Steve Heck on piano. And so we're putting it together. It's a lot of work. It's an hour and a half show. It'll be up at the Club Cafe. And so I'm hoping that people will make an attempt to reserve a table because it's a small venue.
Right.
If it gets any larger, more than 60, we move it into the big room in the back.
Okay.
So if you're in the area or want to make a day, just call the Club Cafe in Boston and make a reservation. There's no cover. I mean, you get dinner and drinks, and it's fun.
Sounds like a great time.
Yeah. So we're using all the music of the 40s,
Nice.
from 1940 to 1945, respectively. And I put the song list together and reading some letters out loud and just doing a nice little tribute for that time.
That's great. It's very patriotic, and it's tough when we have these dates, even December 7th, Pearl Harbor
True.
Day, or 9/11,
Yep.
obviously, and
Yeah.
and it's I remember thinking and you're a football fan as well, when the NFL started, the National Football League started their last season. It happened to fall on the calendar that it was 9/11 and they started, and then you got the whole
That was
controversy.
rough.
Yeah, it was
it's
rough.
crazy.
It's a tough day to start. Yeah.
And some of my friends said, Bob, it is a tough date. I said, well, I don't want to look at it that way. I mean, you have to move on. It's been 16 years.
Yeah.
It's an incredible time. So, and I said, well, how do I actually tie this in? And then I thought, this just came out of my head, and I said, all right, let's do it, and maybe people will look at that and say, let's check it out. And hopefully, once I get this on film, I'll be able to sell it to other places, like mostly senior centers and places like that.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I remember that venue that we were at, because I was in the audience. That was actually my camera work or phone camera work.
That was Amazing Things, Mike, that you were at.
And that Amazing Things was in what town?
Framingham.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Nice place.
And not bad.
It was a really nice
It's a
place.
nice venue.
It was a nice venue, nice people who
Yeah.
ran it. And what I liked about the evening was you came on and sang for about, an hour and 20 minutes?
I was a feature.
the
Leslie
feature,
Holmes,
yeah.
Leslie Holmes runs that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's every month. And in fact, speaking of which, Cindy got herself a feature
Nice.
in October through Leslie. So she got a little gig out of it too.
And what I found was really interesting, you were great, she was great. We'll see some more clips from that later on. But
Thanks.
the gentleman on piano, I thought this guy was a real stallion. I mean, he played for you for an hour and 20 minutes, and then suddenly the audience, like the people in the audience, were all musicians pretty much. Besides me,
well,
like I was the only non-singer.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks in the audience, they kind of did a thing where it became like you were the featured act, and then the audience kind of, a lot of them were singers as well, and some of them, and he, the piano guy, played the whole time.
Yeah.
I was amazed at how good he was.
Tom's been around many years, and he's played with some great people like Lena Horne and just I can't and Aretha Franklin. He's done some gigs at the White House many years ago, and Tom's been around. In fact, his daughter is starring on a national tour of Rent.
Wow.
Going around town, and he's very happy like that. And so I'm very fortunate to meet him, and he does some of my arrangements and everything else. He's a tough guy to get a hold of because he's always working.
Well, he was good, and you were great, and I had a really good time.
Thanks,
and
man, I appreciate that.
yeah, the venue was definitely
Well,
nice.
I love the singing the music, Mike.
Right.
You mentioned I was an actor. I was an actor for a long time. And then as I got older, things started to say, age has a way of turning things around, because you're really finding work is a tough thing. But I always had a love affair with this music. I used to come back from my junior high school days in Boston, the North End. I used to hole myself up in my little storage room in the back of my apartment. And I had an old record, but I'm dating myself, and I would play all those old records with Frank and Tony and Ella and Sarah, and a lot of Broadway shows. And I would be 3 or 4 hours a day.
Now, the names you just listed, Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Tony Bennett, Jack Jones, Robert Goulet.
You said Sarah. Who would Sarah be?
Sarah Vaughan.
Okay.
Sarah Vaughan. But I was really mostly into Sinatra, because I liked the way he swung and his style. It took me a long time to get in with Tony, because Tony, he admitted it, he oversang a lot of stuff.
Right.
But as he got older, and I kept respecting his older work, I said, man, this guy is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that's when I kept up with it, and I went to Northeastern for theater for a couple of years, and I went to Actors Workshop in Boston with a guy named Frank Storrs, wonderful guy. And then I went to New York, where I studied announcing for radio and television for now defunct school there.
Right.
But I had a great time. I mean, it was a lot of work back then, but I loved doing it.
Did you have siblings, Bob? Were you an only?
Yeah, my older brother, Frank, he's a composer.
Wow.
And a writer.
I've heard some of his stuff. You played me some of his stuff.
I believe so, yeah. And now he's very lucky. He's being produced by a guy out in Hollywood named Gary Gray. And Gary's got some great connections out there. And Frank wants to write for television and film.
Right.
And I hope he does, because he deserves it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've been lucky. Mike, it's a tough business, as you know.
Yeah.
It's great. And you directed films. You know what that's like.
Right.
But I always feel like if you have a passion to do something, just do it.
Right.
Because after all, this is what your life is like, and you go for it.
It's either going to be a struggle if you're doing it with the passion, but if you're not doing what you want to do, you'll have the struggle of sitting there being conflicted in your mind, wishing you were trying at least.
Well, you don't want to sit around all your life and say, I coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Right.
Because that's what a lot of people do. A lot of my friends now at my age, they bend out of the business. They don't even bother anymore, and they keep marveling at me and my brother. So how do you guys still manage to want to do this? I said, well, because it's like you love what you do.
Right.
I've worked a lot of my life 9 to 5 and doing these crummy jobs and working with bad management. But you go on and you find your way to keep going at it. I mean, you know what it's like. You're out there too.
It's tough.
You're hustling.
Yeah, hustling.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's successes and there's frustrations, and a lot of times they go hand in hand. Even the successes can be frustrating, and even the frustrations when you get away from that exact situation 6 months, a year later, you say, oh, there was something that good came out of it. Like I've had films, as you know, that have fallen apart, but you find that the people that you network with or you collaborate with, even on these projects that fall by the wayside or something weird happens, they lead themselves to other things.
Well, the real joy that I get now, I mean, granted, singing in Boston, it's a very tough venue because, and even women have admitted this to me, it is a female-dominated industry.
Interesting.
Because the reason for that is most men own the clubs.
So they want the pretty,
They want
attractive
that,
lady in a
exactly.
nice dress to
And
perform.
Conversely, it's reversed in New York,
Wow.
where a lot of that is all a male. I was surprised going to some open mics and there's more men than women. I said, whoa, I wasn't prepared for this.
Right.
So, but I met some wonderful people, vocalists, singers. I started off with a group called Baca, a Boston cabaret artist, and my dear friend Sharon DeFranzo got me started into this. And so through her, I did a gig out in Albemarle Park for July 4th. There was an outdoor event. I got a chance to meet the wonderful Sarah Curry, who set me up. And I didn't know anybody, so she said, Bob, you can use tracks if you want, which I use in nursing homes. I said, fine, let's do that. And so here I am singing Summer Wind, of course,
Sure.
and America by, what's his name, Neil Diamond.
Okay, yeah.
Neil Diamond. And that's how that thing all began. And then I just started meeting people and running with it. And it's nice to support your friends as they support you.
Right.
And it takes time, Mike, because you really need a fan base to get yourself going here. And it's a lot of the venues that you want in jazz is sort of not that many as you like, because times have changed.
Right. Taste change. And
Yeah.
Are less people going out to clubs, or are more people staying at home on the computer or
That's
their
hard.
Netflix? Or
I think it depends on the weather.
okay.
I mean, most people are interested in going out when it's nice, but when it gets rainy and snowy, not people that really want to make that trip.
Right.
Now, I do a lot of not a lot, but I do some open mics at Ryle's Jazz Club in Cambridge. And one of my friends, Joe Reed, who's with me on the 17th of this month at the Common Ground Bar and Grill up in Arlington, he has an open mic. He has it with his bass players and his drummer, Mickey Matsuki and Dan Fox, great people. And he has them on Tuesdays. I think it's the second Tuesday of the month. But when it's rainy and it's snowy, you're not going to get only the singers show up.
And it's a 5 months, 6 months winter at times in
Oh,
New
it's
England.
awful.
And
Yeah,
it's
you
hard in the wintertime to book anything because you have that sinking feeling at the back of your mind or your stomach that what if it snows and you just don't know what's going to happen.
That's true.
But then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Shut down for 5 or 6 months a year? I mean, you don't want to do that
Right.
either.
You
So
can't. Even when I do the assisted living and nursing homes, I traveled in a blizzard once to get to my gig.
right.
Because I said, you're going to be committed, and it's painful to do that.
Right.
But that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's part of this business. So I've been very lucky to, like I said, going back to meeting those people, and then so on and so on. It's like in acting. Mike.
Right.
Everybody has an ego. You can't deny that. And we're all trying to get into that door.
Right.
I auditioned once a couple of times for America's Got Talent, and it's quite a setup. I went to the one here in Javits Center back in 2012
Okay.
in New York. I used to live around there, so I knew where to park. 4 in.the morning, I get there. 50 people already in line.
Wow.
It's insane.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, for a 7 o'clock call-in.
Right.
And everybody bonded. We were buying each other coffee. There's a McDonald's down the street.
Wow.
They call us in at 7 a.m. And they said, okay, here's your wristbands. And so I put into Facebook, being at AGT, wish me luck, my Facebook exploded.
Wow.
As the people do. They like being part of the action.
Sure.
And then they call you in, and they have different rooms for like categories, dancers, novelty acts, singers. They pull us in 10 at a time. There's a big X on the floor, marks a spot. So you get one young 20-something-year-old girl with a webcam and her laptop. Okay, tell us where you're from and how old you are, and give us 90 seconds. Bing.
Right.
It was like being on a firing line.
Wow.
It really was.
Yeah. No time for nuance. Just boom,
No.
boom, boom. Yeah.
And it was a cappella.
Right.
And some people just wailed. I said, what are they doing here? But this is what they think they can do.
Right.
And there were a couple that were good. And, I mean, I didn't make the cut, but it was fine because I said, they really key on the youth. But there are some people now that I watch at night,
Right.
America's Got Talent, and they're older people. I said, well, maybe there is a shot here. But still, that's the way this business is.
It's good though,
Yeah.
in a sense, not a huge fan of American Idol or America's Got Talent.
True.
But it's good that those shows are there because it shows that the American audience or the worldwide audience is still hungry for new talent, still hungry for fresh faces, still not jaded.
No.
And the whole, hey kids, let's put on a show, or the talent show contest, or the person next door might be a great singer. At least we know there's still a hunger and a thirst for that, right?
That's true. I mean, I was happy to see there were 3 black guys called the Masqueraders. They're all in their early 70s.
Sure.
And they had, excuse me, they had a modest hit about back in the 60s. And Simon said to them, well, why do you guys still do it? Because we love what we do.
Right.
And Simon said, I appreciate you being here because you guys can prove that age should be no barrier.
Right.
And they did. And they made the judge cuts for the live shows.
Nice.
So I said, great. I don't know how far they'll get.
Right.
It depends on the audience because they're home. But it's just nice to see that.
Yeah.
You know, but that's my view. I think they should have demographically correct shows, Mike, like American Idol for teens or American Idol for America's Got Talent for kids, America's Got Talent for seniors.
It's a good idea, Bob. You should probably.
I
I
know
wish
you
you could get
think.
this to these guys.
Like George Carlin used to say, I got all the right ideas, but nobody ever calls me.
right. Let's check out some more of your music.
Let's do it.
Let's check it out when we can. More Bobby DiCicco singing.
Thank you, Mike.
Stepping out with my baby, can't go wrong 'cause I'm in right. It's for sure, but for maybe, oh, I'm all dressed up tonight. Stepping out with my honey, can't be bad to feel so good. Never felt quite this sunny, and I keep on knocking wood. They'll be smooth sailing, 'cause I'm trimming my sails. In my top hat, my white tie, and my tails. Yeah, stepping out with my baby. Can't go wrong, 'cause I'm in right. Ask me when will the day'll be. The big day could be tonight. If I seem to scintillate, it's because I've got a date with a package of those good things that come with love. You don't have to ask me, I won't waste your time. But if you should ask me why I feel sublime.
Okay.
We're back.
Okay, we're back.
We're
Let's see
back.
much. And Bobby, just the bass player. Did you mention his name earlier?
Yeah, Todd Baker.
Okay.
He's terrific.
And the piano man was.
Tom Lamarck. But Tom, I'll be using Steve Heck. He's another fine. He's a professor at Berkeley School
Wow.
of Music. And Steve has his own room named after him at Berkeley. It's incredible.
It's pretty impressive.
Todd's been around for a long time, great musician. And by the way, you know, there was a big deal with a big Tony Bennett fan. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And Cindy helped me out about 2-3 years ago at Amazing Things. I did my tribute to Tony. I called basically Bennett.
Okay.
So I had the Winnikers with me, Bo and Bill. Bo was on trumpet, Bill's on drums. And then I had a wonderful man named Bill Duffy on keys and Peter Tillotson behind him on bass. And it was just so cool. And I mean, I've seen Tony.
You've met Tony Bennett.
I have, and
I'm
I'm sorry I didn't show you the picture I took with him.
Yeah.
That you've seen, I think, already.
I think so, yeah.
Me and him together. And I finally got to meet him because I got a chance to become friendly with his bass player, Marshall Wood, a wonderful man, and Gray Sargent, the guitarist. But Marshall got me in to see Tony. We were up at Eastham Theater up in Rochester, New York. And God, what a show he puts on. And got to meet him backstage, say hello, take a picture.
Real role model for any performer.
He turned 91 August
Wow.
3rd. It's incredible. So he'll be back again at Mohegan Sun end of the month. But It was great to meet him, and very quick, 'cause he's very tired and so on. But I kind of patterned a lot of my stuff after him. And there's another guy I love called Freddie Cole.
Okay.
There's a wonderful jazz. He's been around for years, too. So it's a process, Mike, just going through it. But there are times I miss acting a little bit because I haven't done much with that. But I'm really keen on singing now, and I just love that because you can create your own character in the song. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal.
There's many similarities but many differences between the musicianship world and the music world and the acting.
It's true.
And I'm probably a guy who, of all my interests, music is the thing that I like the most that I don't do at all. You know, and I sang 2 shows for a rock band.
You did.
First show and the last show, and that was about it. I'm serious. But I always love music. I love listening to it and seeing. And you and I have seen some shows.
Sure.
We saw. We saw a really interesting kind of performance art show was William Shatner.
I remember we saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Where did we go for that?
That was in Lynn.
Yeah,
Lynn, I said, why is he performing in Lynn,
of
all places?
The starship has landed or whatever. And I wasn't even a big Shatner fan, but I mean, you kind of convinced me, and I didn't take much convincing because I know the guy's a legend. And what an interesting night.
That's
what an
amazing.
Interesting guy.
I mean, the man is 85 years old.
Yeah.
I saw him years ago at the Nassau Coliseum. They were having the Star Trek convention.
Right.
A lot of strange people go to those things.
Yeah, right.
And so at the Nassau Coliseum, it was packed.
Yeah.
And out they come, him and Nimoy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to show you the difference in the two, Shatner comes out with a running suit, like a jogging suit, and there's Nimoy, 3-piece suit.
Right.
And he was telling stories, Nimoy, about what Shatner used to do to him, and God almighty, he said, I used to bike to work to the set on Star Trek. Shatner would find a way to lock up my bike.
Wow.
It's like, he brought an actual hydrant in, and he had his chained to the hydrant, his bike.
Wow.
And he had his bike once up in the rafters. He always said, and he was, that's not a nice man.
I like Nimoy's In Search Of show. The speaking plants, the secret. The plants. That's the first episode. Is what a way to start a series is by having the secret language of plants.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, In Search Of was great. Yeah.
Well, I remember his album. I forgot what it was called, but Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. He would sing songs.
Shatner and Nimoy.
Nimoy would do his own album, and I met Nimoy briefly again at a symposium at Berklee School of Music.
Right.
When he wrote the book, the original book was "I Am Not Spock."
Right.
And people just sent him all kinds of nasty letters. And
you are Spock.
Yeah. So he wrote another book.
Right.
I Am Spock.
Well, this book sell more.
So he came back to promote that. He said, I've learned my lesson. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
We've seen some great musicians. Was Manhattan Transfer that we saw at the park?
We saw
Park Place in Rhode Island.
Oh, New York Voices, I forget.
I thought it was Manhattan Transfer.
I think you're right, Manhattan Transfer. And then we saw the Glenn Miller tribute band.
Right.
We went to see the Benny Goodman tribute band.
Yeah.
Great guy named Ken Poplawski.
Right.
Wonderful sax player.
Yep.
Of course, the man, Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy, just a few months ago.
Damn right, I got to sing the blues.
Right, and he had this young protege.
What was his name? I forget. Austin something? Was that
He's a young kid. He's like 14 or 16 years old.
It was insane.
And Buddy Guy's bringing out this.
He blew the house down.
Right.
Yeah. So we saw quite a few shows
at
there.
the Park Theater in Cranston.
And Art Garfunkel.
Art Garfunkel.
He was terrific.
Yeah.
Card table and doing his thing. And I'm thinking, it's really interesting how you can be an artist and you don't need all those pyrotechnics. You don't need all that stuff, glitz going on. Comes out just with his card table and his notes.
Right.
He had one guitarist. He puts on a wonderful show.
Yeah, Garfunkel.
It's insane, Mike.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm watching I'm not going to sit here and bash the new music because I can't do that. But there are some nice writers like Ed Sheeran, there are Adele, other people, but nothing like the American Songbook.
Right.
Because you had, I can't even imagine the wealth of writers between Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, Rodgers and Hart, Rodgers and Hammerstein, names on top of my hat.
Is that when you say the Great American Songbook, Bobby, is that something that is that a concept? Is that like saying the canon of great literature, or is there an actual book? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it really is a culmination of music that was gleaned out of musicals.
Okay.
From the 40s to a touch of the 50s. And that's how that became what it was. And then you had other, like the Porters of the World, or adding in their stuff too. But mostly for that, I guess for 2 decades span, like I say, the mid-30s to the 40s, early 50s, a lot of musicals, they gleaned from that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much how the American Songbook became what it was. And even from the big band leaders, like from Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey, and they would write their own music. And so that was become part. I mean, so many artists have sung this music for years.
Right.
And you gotta, it's up to you as an independent solo artist to put your spin on that. And that's what it is.
You know what I found interesting was I was flipping through channels, I think about a year ago, and I caught something on the local PBS, which was a barbershop quartet competition. And they had these guys that looked like mostly in their 20s or 30s, but there was a group that was older, guys like in their 70s, and they were like barbershop quartets competing.
Well, there's a good friend of ours, like Pete McSwiggan.
Oh yeah, Pete.
He belongs to a North Shore group, and they do their competitions, and I think it's wonderful. In fact, he has a guy that I know. I used to live in a different part of town, and the landlord's brother, Tony, would go around at 85, 90 years old, just performing for the seniors with their barbershop quartet.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing the wealth of stuff that's out there.
Right.
Mike, it's incredible.
A friend of mine does a Kenny Rogers tribute because he looks like Kenny Rogers.
Okay.
And he sings, he looks a lot like Kenny Rogers, and he'll sing at the senior centers for the Kenny Rogers fans, or just for anyone who wants to hear it.
Yeah.
And it's cool because, we do see society, and sometimes I get down on it, and we see things that are kind of, seems like it's declining, or art's declining.
I agree.
But then you see stuff that, like, people are kind of holding on to some good things. And
we're trying to, Mike, because I can't imagine, my life at least, without the American Songbook material. And I'm not taking anything away from the other writers of the 60s, like Lennon and McCartney, Holland Dozier, people like that, and Lieber Stoller, James Taylor, and all those great people. They were some wonderful people, and they're still going strong. But, I have a love affair with that other music. I know some people say to me, isn't that kind of old? I said, well, is it really? Because I always think, Mike, like when they say beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, music lies in the ear of the listener.
That's a good point.
And it's what you make of it, Who's to say?
I don't know, Bob. I listen to something like, I'll listen to some Bob Dylan or some Simon and Garfunkel and stuff that maybe I've heard a million times, or new stuff if you dig deep into the album tracks, and you hear things, profound lyrics or musical compositions, and I'm not a musician, but I can tell that this stuff is better than a lot of stuff now, and it is a thing where to each his own, but I do wish that some of the younger people would maybe take off their
that's the
phones
problem.
to whatever they're listening and give some of this stuff a shot, because I think they would like it.
Yeah, I have sung for many different people, and when there's a youthful audience, like maybe some of them are very young, the older people listen, and they're on the phone.
Right.
And they're doing this, not even paying attention. And it's like, come on, guys.
Right.
Here's some of this stuff, But when their friends sing, they were quiet. But with the older people, what do they know? So they go back to texting and saying,
hashtag, whatever.
Yeah. So going back to what I said to you about how people say, isn't that music kind of old? I said, well, why don't you tell some of these conductors of these symphony orchestras that still play Beethoven, Mozart, Brahms. We're talking 400 years ago.
Or Shakespeare in the theater world.
Thank you.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it depends on what you like and what appeals to you. I can't imagine a world without music.
How does you mentioned, and I know you're pretty active, you mentioned that your Facebook blew up when you were in the line, and you kind of made reference to where you were with that audition process, and people get excited.
That's true.
How do you use the world of social media to promote? Do you find it exciting, challenging, in between?
If
both?
I didn't have music and theater, Mike, I would never use Facebook.
Okay.
Because some people use it for most banal things.
Sure.
I went to Starbucks. How nice.
Right.
You know, my kid's first tooth. That's great.
Extra chocolate fudge on my banana
Thank you.
split.
I mean, who cares?
Right.
And tweeting is even worse.
Yeah.
I don't even use Twitter.
Yeah.
But I find it to promote myself, my gigs, and it helps me stay in touch with my musician and vocalist friends. And it really has opened the door for a few people I haven't seen in years. But as a rule, I wouldn't use Facebook if I didn't need it.
Right.
Because I mean, it's a tool, it's an avenue to get to other people and things, and that's why I try to avoid a political.
Right. Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, because
right.
once you start doing that, you open yourself up to a lot of bitter people who are ready to strangle you for your thoughts. And I'm thinking, who are these people? You know, it's so easy to hide behind the keyboard.
What's really interesting is in a community like New England, where you have, or anywhere from people watch the show, but New England, I've seen Facebook wars develop between friends and even try to squelch things, and sometimes it's just not worth it. You know, it's just
true.
It's like a headache that's just engaging. But the Facebook giveth, the Facebook taketh away is
That's
an
true.
expression I have.
That's true,
Just
man.
I've probably connected with you on a friendship level through Facebook. You had auditioned quite well for a part in a piece I was doing, and then you and I kind of
Thanks.
became buddies and so forth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about your acting, because we didn't talk about it too much because we
That's okay.
concentrated on the music side.
Yeah.
But what are some of the projects you were involved in, or projects that you like to be involved in, actors that you like, all types of stuff?
Well, I guess now, if I have my choice, I love to do narration.
Okay.
You know, for voiceover work, like a PBS or for nature series. That's what be my bailiwick thing. But going back, I mean, I started off as a musical comedies, some drama when I was very young. I did a lot of stuff in community theater, Mike. It went on for a long time.
Right.
I went to New York, and I studied there for a while, and I met a lot of nice people, a lot of auditions, and then as I got older, I finally decided that, you know, maybe it's time to make a change. So my dad, unfortunately, had passed, this is going back now, 86. And I said, oh, my life's going to change. So I moved back to Boston from Jersey. I was pursuing a career.
Right.
I got back and I was taking care of my mother, and I decided to move back out to New York for some time to stay with my daughter, or see my daughter more and more. And then I decided to come back to Boston again. I moved so many places,
Right.
I can't even tell you. So I pursued it for a long time, but you have to make money, so you got to work.
Right.
And then finally, I came back to Boston in 2000, I think it was, and I went to work back out here. And I said, well, maybe I'll give it one last shot at film.
Right.
I moved out to L.A., and that was an ill-fated move. It was just very short. Things just didn't go.
Wasn't planned out the best.
No,
and, yeah.
when you go out there without any substantial income and really no job prospects, you're pretty much screwed.
Right.
So but I survived it, and I got back here, and I've been working ever since, and now I'm getting back into my music, and so it's taking time, but I feel good about it, though.
I think you did some acting in a piece that had my friend Joe, our mutual friend Joe Jaffo, wasn't it?
Oh, JoJo Career.
Yeah.
We did a movie called The Test, I believe, and that was with Jennifer Giuliametti and I forgot, and Bobby Kenny.
Right.
I believe sure Billy Vegan was in there, but I forget. Oh, William Ayers directed it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Billy, nice man. And we had a great cast. Donna Larson was part of it, and Wanda Iola.
Right.
Wonderful people. And the film, you know, did pretty well. I mean, people liked it, and I enjoyed it, you know. But that was really the only other film that I think I can go back to. It's like 4 years ago. Conned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was through Arthur Lunn at the time. Had a major part, Mr. Million. I always say, can't you give me Mr. Millions? And yeah, I got shortchanged.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, we got through. It took about 3 years to make. Thought I was making Spartacus with this movie.
Right.
But we got it made and got it promoted through Vanguard Films. So
Great.
you can see it online. And
Con,
check-
C-O-N-N-E-D?
Like you conned
Con
somebody.
someone, yeah.
And I was kind of spoiled on that film. It was John Cleary was in there, and a lot of other people. Hilary Barriford, she's now out in Hollywood. Heidi Rhodes, who I love to death, she's out in Hollywood too. They're all out there.
Right.
And some other people that my mind is not. And we had John Pierce, who was in that film, and other people too. But yeah, I mean, there are times, Mike, I'll be honest, I miss it.
Sure.
But because it's part of me. But I got into singing, and I don't regret it.
Right.
You know, I think it's just fun to do, and it's nothing is easy, but you keep doing it, and it'll work itself out.
What do you have advice for people watching the show, younger people or older people too, who would like to start singing in this New England area or anywhere? Do you have any advice as to, hey, I want to be a singer, and if they don't know what to do, what do they do?
Depends on what genre they want.
Okay.
R&B, hip hop, soul. You want to do jazz. You want to do pop. And you got to find your wheelhouse. You got to find your niche, because you know, sometimes artists that are established will do other material because they can do it now.
Right.
Anybody who's really young who wants, like, especially the teenagers, they're like, they will sing anywhere, you know, for free, which is a nice gesture. But I always look at it now, being older, it is a business first and foremost. So, but if you want to go ahead and do it, then try and find anywhere you can to sing, audition, go to open mics, vocalize, learn.
Right.
That's how you do it as acting, you know.
Right.
And the older crowd, you know, they're maintaining what they have, and they're going around to, they get a nice cluster of people that say, hey, Bill, we're doing a show, can you come in? Or somebody's having this, somebody's having that, and you go with him. So that's the main thing, Mike. I think is just doing it, but don't sell yourself short either, because I spend a lot of time. I don't mind going to open mics, but you can't do it forever.
Right.
You want to be paid for what you do. After all, this is a business. You are an artist, and that's my thinking. People may say, "Bob, you're crazy." You know, nobody really.
It's a delicate balance.
It is,
because you want to get those connections, you want to get the practice, but at the same time, if you're giving away the music for free, then why would anyone ever buy a ticket? They say, well, I'll just see you Monday at the bar, and then.
I have a dear friend of mine,
tough.
Maureen Pilot, who was one of my singing partners, and she said to me, "Stop giving it away for free, because people will see you saying, why should I pay to see him when I can see it for free?" And she's right.
Marketing is such a tricky thing, because it's hard as an artist, whether you're an actor or a singer or anything, to know where do you pull back a little bit from giving the stuff for free, because it's tough. It's tough.
But see, Mike, again, like, there's a fine line there, because, you know, as a singer, you want to be singing.
Right.
So maybe you can go to places where you can try out some new material.
Right.
So you go there. You know, that's why you do it. That's why I go sometimes to Joe's open mics or other places. Like, we have Celia Slattery. She's a voice teacher who does her open mics. She has a combination of her students, and she'll also use people like myself to come in and sing. It's a good thing, because, I mean, you're always hoping that you'll get a gig from one of those. I really have never really got any work out of that.
I hear you.
But I think just going in there, I have a friend of mine who has told me, Bob, look at it as a workshop.
Right.
Okay, so like you said, Mike, there's a delicate balance there. And you can't always be working, so you might as well just be honing your craft.
Well, keep the knives sharp, so to speak.
Keeping your chops wet.
Right.
That's the key.
And see, and also if it's enjoyable. I mean, if you enjoy performing and the open mic is there, why not go and have a good time? But it is a delicate balance.
One of the toughest things to do, Mike, as you know, when you're acting or directing, depends on your mood.
Right.
If you're in a lousy mood, everything's gonna just stink. You're not gonna want to be bothered.
Right.
I had that kind of a day today. I was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
But I managed to do it because I wanted to entertain these people. And the senior crowd, I love them dearly, because their lives now where they are, and when they hear the music of their lives, they all pick up.
That's good.
And they all big smile, and I feel like I'm doing something of note.
Right.
Something worthy. So that drives me to do the best I can. So suffice it of another day that I've had, I got to eliminate that it's only an hour.
Right.
But, you know, we're only human, and we have feelings, and just got to eliminate that part of what I went through and say, take it from there. We did a gig today, and it was a woman in the audience, and my heart was breaking because she was in tears about the fact that she said, I want to go home. I want to be in my home. And I'm thinking, you know, trying to listen to this and entertain, and eventually they moved her out. But you're thinking, this is where they are now.
Right.
And if we can come in for a little block of time and make them smile, then you've won.
Give them a smile because their
Oh,
day
man,
is very
Mike.
long, and it's
Yeah. I was down the Cape a couple of weeks ago, and I had one woman, she was wheelchaired by me, and she grabs my hand, and she said, thank you so much for bringing back some fun memories. And just hearing that
Right.
makes you feel like you've succeeded.
Right.
You know? It's like acting. If you do a play, let's say there's 100 people in the audience, but one person
Right.
likes it, you succeeded.
Right.
So you kind of take, that it sounds like a weird, but that's what I think.
It may not feel like that or seem like that at the time for the
Yeah.
artist, but for that particular audience member,
Yeah.
and who knows, maybe that audience member goes and writes some great play themselves, or
You
does
never know,
something
Mike. There's
terrific.
always, it's the crapshoot.
I think we've got one more clip
You
of your
do?
work. Yeah. So
Well,
let's-
this
if
is
we
new to
have
me.
it, let's play it. Bobby DiCicco. One more.
That's great. I'll
one
take
more
it.
round of
Sure, why
music
not?
here.
Let's do
I
it
think
up.
we've got that. I think so.
How you guys doing? A nice little crowd here tonight, so I want to do something here. Help me out. Give me a snap. Come on. I gotta hear it. What key is that in anyway? I have no idea. Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. You came along and everything started to hum. Well, still it's a real good bet. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, and baby, won't it be fine? You think you've seen the sun, well, you ain't seen it shine. Wait till the warm-up's underway. Wait till our lips have met. Oh, wait till you see that sunshine day. You ain't seen nothing yet. The best is yet to come, and baby, won't it be fine? The best is yet to come, on that day you're mine. Just in time, I found you just in time. Before you came, my time was running low. Yeah, I was lost. The losing dice were tossed. My bridges all were crossed. Nowhere to go. Now you're here, and now I know just where I'm going. No more doubt or fear. I found my way. Oh, 'cause baby, it's just in time. You found me just in time and changed my lonely life that lovely day. I got the world on a string, I'm sitting on a rainbow. I got that string around my finger. What a world, what a life, you know, I'm in love, that's right. I got a song that I sing and I can make the rain go. Anytime I use my finger, lucky me, can't you see that I'm in love? Life's a wonderful thing, as long as you got that string. I'd be a silly so-and-so if I should ever let you go. I got the world on a string and I'm sitting on a rainbow. I got that string around my finger. What a world, what a life. Yeah, what a life, what a world.
Bobby DiCicco
That's
watching
me.
the medley. So to
Medley.
speak. Yeah, yeah.
Medley, Mike.
Bobby, do you have a mantra that you'd like to share? With the Messier Mantra, we ask our guests. So when I
It's like
remember
James
to ask,
Lipton, do you have a favorite word?
but do you have a mantra? Some type of
Well, it's on my Facebook homepage, and it's an unknown, and it reads like, if you plan to reach for the stars, start by standing on the roof.
okay.
And that's just my little mantra, if that means anything.
Well, in a practical sense, if you're standing on the roof, then you're kind of standing above your current circumstances, the way I would interpret that.
Interpret that way, sure, why not?
Yeah, whatever house
Yeah.
or home you're in, whether it's a big one or a small one, and you're kind of looking beyond your cityscape or your neighborhood, kind of
That's
looking to
true.
the stars. So,
I think, Mike, once you stop dreaming, you stop living.
yeah.
And that's my view. I mean, I'm always looking ahead, trying to figure out a way to get myself into more places and sing in venues, because that's the joy of living. I mean,
I've been with you, and I've seen you work through magic and kind of network
thanks,
with people. And if we go to an event, sometimes if it strikes an interest with you, you will go ahead and you'll introduce yourself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've always admired that, because how else are you going to meet people?
I'm always schmoozing, or as I say, working the room.
Yeah,
It
sure.
drives some people crazy, but if you don't do it that way, then you're not going to get anywhere.
A friend of Jim Germanic is a guy that
Sure,
I think
I
we
know
both.
Jim.
He has that lecture, The Art of the Schmooze, which I think is
Okay.
it's relevant
Creative.
because we put that negative connotation to the word schmooze.
We do.
But it doesn't have to be negative.
No, I think generally, even though it's just crazy to say this, I'm a little bit on the shy side sometimes, because you don't want to come off looking like a fool
Right.
either to people. Because sometimes people can look right through you and say, "This guy, what's he doing?" But schmoozing, pressing the palm, pressing the flesh, it's all part of the game.
Part of the fun.
I mean, there are a lot of people out there, Mike, to be honest, who really are not that great, but because they found a way to market themselves, they're making themselves quite a name for themselves.
In the days of YouTube and
God.
I mean,
You
people that I watch who are making videos about topics of interest, but some of them are really not good speakers, or
No.
they're tragically flawed in some way
They
or
are.
another.
And believe me, I've seen that, vocalists and actors, somewhat, whatever. And it's kind of weird. And my brother and I always say, if we had this technology
Right.
when we were children or kids, can you imagine we could have done?
Right.
I mean, back in those days, forget it. I was trying to hustle my brother's music when I was living in New York, up to A&R people for like Reprise Records, Elektra Records, Columbia. And now it's like, if you don't have an agent, forget it. You're
Right.
dead. But that's how it was back then. You were really on your own. I used to type resumes by a regular typewriter.
Wow.
Really going back ancient.
Right. Tabs and margins.
The carbon
and,
paper to make a copy of it, and it was insane.
Right.
But you lived through it. But I just think, I wish we could have had this technology back then. What a joy.
Well, what we do have is the Messier Mantra.
I heard.
Bobby DiCicco.
That's it.
We've gone through an hour. We've
That's
seen a lot of
amazing.
your work,
That's
and I just
amazing.
want to thank you so much for being here, being my friend,
Hey,
and being a
Mike,
great
my pleasure,
singer.
man. Thanks for having me.
September 11th in Boston.
Yes,
What club again?
September 11th, the Club Cafe. It's on Columbus Avenue.
Okay.
The show starts at 7:30, but you're best advised to be there at 7. So I would advise anybody, please, to call the club. I don't have the number handy, but it's the Club Cafe in Boston, and just make a reservation for the tables, and that would be great.
Do you have a website, real quick?
I
Bob?
do. I have. It's rdicicco.com.
Okay.
rdicicco.com. You can find out my information there. You can check some of my videos out. Here's some of my not CDs, but my MP3 music. Learn about me, my background, and see some of the reviews that I've gotten from people. And
Sounds
it's
good.
cool. It works.
Bobby DiCicco, thanks for coming.
Michael, I thank you.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
Thanks for watching the Messier Mantra.